Thank you very much for introduction. Actually, it's a very good weather. And let me first say one thing about, since we actually arrived at the this city, arrived in this city yesterday late night, we don't have time to walk around. But one thing I find that the first weather and the campus is quite similar as the university I spent for 10 years. It's the Hokkaido University. So basically, I like this campus. I like the weather here very much. Okay, so at first, let me express our gratitude to dear Ambassador Mari Miyoshi and also USD Registrar Mark Rogers for supporting us. And we'd like to also say the thanks to this supporting organization. One is the International Strategy Cooperation Award of Japan, and that is the Embassy of the Japan in Ireland. So we'd also like to send our great thanks to the Professor Brian Caulfield and Professor Kodate, and also many kind staffs to organize this event, and also thanks to their kind consideration. And we are really happy, and it's our great pleasure to be here to share some of our findings and effects on, well, basically these topics. In today's talk, we'd like to introduce our findings and effects in these for these 2 parts, 5 parts. The first one, 2 parts, I'd like to introduce the background and some facts about the aging Japanese society. And then Professor Suwa will continue to explain the current status of aging care, and also we are going to have a slide to say, is this a really aging care crisis or not? Finally, I will be here again to introduce our robotics-based solutions. By this slide, I'd like to emphasize 2 things. The first thing is about this aging care crisis. We didn't say the aging itself is a crisis, because actually long life, living long, is the dream of a human mankind. So basically itself, for example, Japan now is the leading aging society. This matter itself is a thing to celebrate, actually. But another factor is in order to maintain or keep the quality of life for the elderly, manpower and resources is needed. So in Japan, currently, lack of manpower and resources actually cause the care crisis. So we don't say the aging itself is the crisis. The care, aging care is the problem. And another point is here. So I always hear some opinion that are you going to, for example, build a robot to replace human being? In this case, it's human carers or the caregivers, care workers. So our answer definitely is no. We are going to build something to support these carers or caregivers. So that's our basic stance. So let's first have a look at the general information of these 2 countries. One is Ireland and the other is Japan. We can see some fact is, for example, the surface area. Japan is a little bit big. It's bigger. It's 5 times. And the population, the density of population, again, Japan is higher, 5 times, almost 5 times. So as a result, the population is almost 5 times 5. It's 25 times of that of Ireland. So, and maybe, again, let me have the Hokkaido here. Since Professor Kodate also have a very deep relationship with the Hokkaido University, I love this island too. It's a northern island in Japan, well, this area. You will see, well, it's quite similar actually, from the surface area, density of population, and well, population itself, it's quite similar, comparable. And we can go back to see another two facts. One is the foreign population here. So Ireland is 16.8, while Japan is 1.6. So that actually is also one of the main reasons of this, aging society, the aging Japanese society. So another point is I'm a little bit surprised. Actually, I got this data from now. This is where it is. It is here. I just think the people in Japan, including me, we drink a lot. But I find, actually, the people in Ireland drink even more. So it's interesting. We are really expecting to have some Irish alcohol. Well, maybe later, let's find that. Okay, so let's go to this, it's called population pyramid. There are several facts we can find that. One is, very clear, it's a declining population. To show you some digits, the figures. So it is estimated that at around 2025, the population of Japan will be dropped to under 120 million. That's a fact. So just during, within this area, the period. Another one is, this color, the red and the purple means the people aged 65 or over. So the ratio of this population is, we can see, is increasing, is keeping increasing. And there are several reasons. One of them we can show here. It's, maybe you can see here, the first one and the second one, the baby boom there. The first one is post-war, the second war, post-war baby boom. Basically, the majority born during this period, it will be, at least beyond 75, I think, around here in 2050. So this is also one major reason. Yeah. So again, let's put these two countries, the data together. We have the two pyramids. From that, actually, we can see, this part is the age, the people aged 65 or over. For Ireland is 12.1%, and for Japan is this. Actually, Japan is quite leading here. And Ireland is quite a young country from this viewpoint. And another two data, the figures is here. Another major reason, here. One is the birth rate, almost 1/2. The second is fertility rate is also very low, even in the OECD countries, I think. And we can go to see in Japan, on the 1st of April 2000, Japanese government introduced a system called long-term care insurance system there. So there are several, certainly, social background. The first thing is quite clear. The second and the third reason is kind of Japanese family. They are changing from the traditional one to the, the modern one. The first one is called the nuclearization of the family. That means the families are changing from previously it's called extended family to this nuclearized family. Means young people, when they are going to be adult, they will choose to be independent. They go out from their family to organize their own family. While before, usually young couples, young people are living with their uncles, aunties, parents, but now it's different. Certainly, there are several reasons behind it. For example, now the working place, usually when the government or the company, they try to make a new company, usually they, for example, choose an area in the suburb, not in the center of the city. So, there are several reasons behind. Another thing is quite also Japanese. So it means the married women, usually they stay in home. It's called housewives. That's in the traditional style. But currently, these young women, married young women, they chose to go into the society. They will have a job. So basically, no one before this housewife is also the main workforce for this care, since long-term care since. Now, since they are all going to the society, so no one will do this care. So it's also, most of people know that it's very heavy for one to care for another one. So this is also a reason. Well, I think that's why Japanese government finally decided to introduce this long-term care insurance. Oh, yes. So speaking of this, the insurance system in Japan, there are two major insurance systems. One is the medical insurance scheme, initiated in 1961. So another one is the recent, the one I just mentioned is 2000. It's long-term care insurance scheme. Well, they have some common features, but the difference is here. So I have to use here. For this medical insurance scheme, we can say that more than the insurance for people younger than 74, but for the people aged 75 or older, basically the government will serve as the insurance. This is one. While for the long-term care insurance scheme, it's here. Basically, municipal government serves as the insurance, well, around 2000. And eligible, there's eligibility things. Eligible people include the following. One is the aged 65 years and older. Another one is this. If one is old enough and have some terminal cancer or chronic diseases, so will be eligible for this one. So next, we'd like to introduce some kind of features of this society. Basically, they are quite common for the other countries, for example, even for the island. The one is the medical expenditure, the cost is increasing. The second is population of lonely living elderly is increasing. The third one is quite Japanese, I think. It's called the difference between the populated area and the depopulated area is increasing. But due to a time limitation, I'd like to only introduce the first two. Here, the first one, let's have a look at this medical expenditure, means cost. They are full of information here, so I think let's just check this. This dotted line means the total health expenditure in percentage of national income. This no, it's a solid line. This solid one, the one is here. So the final data is about 2012. The percentage is rising to 11.2. And how about this data? We can show this. If you see the OECD average, it's 9.3%. And if we have a look at the island, then it's the 8.9%. So that means, well, Japanese government invested enough money to this medical insurance system. So let's also have a look at the long-term care. So we said that we have two different kind of insurance system. In case of long-term care, maybe it's because it initiated from 2000, right? It's rising. Keep rising. Now the user of this insurance is 4.9 million people. But if you have this blue bar, it means the in-home services. The user of the insurance for this in-home services is keep increasing here. So in terms of the amount of money, the cost, now it's here. At the first year, it's the 2.6 trillion, and now it's the 10 point. go there. So yes, this one is our government finally try to identify the problem. So they do the investigation and say that the data says that on average, each one will spend in total during lifetime is kind of 240,000 US dollar here. Then if you calculate that, and we can see that, we can draw a line here, means, let's see here. The elderly conserves medical care service at more than 5 times. Well, basically it's 51% and 49%. The people over 70 will spend almost same kind of money when you are young. So that's the meaning. So according to this data analysis, we can say that the aging itself maybe is one likely possible explanation for increased medical care costs. So let's go into the second one. Second one is called elderly people's family, basically the lonely living elderly problem. So first, the data shows that this data is about the number and the percentage distribution of households with persons aged 65 and over. So it's quite, again, the density of the data is too high. So let me show this something like that. Let's just see the final bar. It means the data of the 2013. Well, this part. So this part means the parents, the household in which parents with unmarried children. This is the first part, this part. The second part is 3-generation families. Grandfather, grandmother, and father, mother, and grandchildren. So, well, and the part is the others. So most important 2 blocks from here, we can see the first one is household with a couple only. Well, the couple here are aged 65 or over. So another part is here, only 1-person household. That's the current situation in Japan. So if you see the figures, it will be percentage. If you this one, and then if you sum them up, will be over 56.7%. So Japanese government also did another investigation. They sent the questions to the old people. They say, where is your desirable place to spend your final days? It's a little bit dark question. And then, so they have the result here. If you see this red part means the old people, they say they want to, their desirable place is home. This green part is home for elderly health services. It's kind of service facilities. So this red part is green part if we just check it out. And the desirable, the ratio is 49.5% plus, this is a little small, it's 3.3, I think it's 3.3%. And then if you check the facilities and, well, the conditions of the rooms, the families, you will see that only 60.5% plus 44% available for them to spend their final days. So this is, and then let's check this finally its actual place of death. The result is only 12.6% plus 4.8%. So that's the data show that. That means although people knows that this is the fact, still they want to spend their final days in their home. And well, basically it's not a bad issue. So we want to spend the last days in our home. But the fact is, well, this data shows that the percentage of the people without someone to rely on when in trouble. So basically, all the data are for the people aged 65 or older or over. So you will see that, well, the male part and the female part, and the percentage for the, this here, where is it? The households living alone, the male is 20%. It's very high. 20% of the old male, they don't have anyone to rely on. So, for example, when in trouble means, for example, try to change the light bulb, or maybe do the gardening, or to buy a bag of rice, this kind of things. They don't have anyone to rely on. So the ratio is quite high. Well, as a result, there are quite a lot of cases say that care for the elderly by the elderly. So that in the case of the older couple. This is the first point. The second, there are a lot of problems caused. One is called frequent falling down in home without being detected. So they fall down in their home. Another one is increasing called ambulance. So by the older families. The second one. The fourth one, I don't know if it's only happened in Japan or not. I think even same in the other country is subjected to the fraudulence. Means in Japan, once there's a lot of cases, for example, a young man will call a family, say, oh, I'm your grandchildren, please send money to this account. Then the old grandma cannot tell the difference between his real grandchildren or the other young people. So finally, they send the money to their account. So quite a lot of this kind of fraudulence. So another even serious issue is about this, solitary deaths. About this, actually, we have some facts here. There's still no data for whole country, but they really have data for the Tokyo. There are 23 like wards, like districts, wards. There the data shows that. Oh, I can use that. This solitary death issue cases are increasing. So maybe you can see this year is 2013. I think this year even higher than 2013. So, well, this issue certainly a lot of newspapers, a TV program mentioned that. Now it's a very big social problem. And Professor Tsujimura actually did investigation on these issues. He tried to make it clear by compare the views on these older people living alone for different countries. So basically, it's first for Finland, right? For Finland and Japan. So we have 2 points. One is for Japanese people, basically living alone, although they don't want to do that, but it's not the matter they can choose. They have to do that. No one can take care of that. So it's a matter of not for their choosing. So usually old people will feel helpless for that. Well, in the case of Finland, they said older people living alone are considered self-reliant, kind of independent, and also not isolated. They don't feel isolated. So we don't know the case of the island. Next, we have a slide mentioned about that. So another one certainly is here, dying without being watched over by someone and not being discovered for some times after death is called this, kodokushi. Yes, it's a Japanese word, but you can translate to the solid death or the lonely death. But in Finland, actually there are several cases. This paper mentioned that, actually this paper mentioned, when an older person living alone is discovered after death, home care helpers sometimes say it was good that he could live alone until the end. So quite a complete different way of thinking. I tried to ask Professor Kodate about the island, the opinions island, and he passed me one column in the newspaper. I think it's called the Irish Times. There says a column, right? The title of that news is column is "The World Must Tackle epidemic of loneliness. It says the first thing is quite similar as before. In Japan, there is a term to describe that called kodokushi, the lonely deaths. So this is the first one. The second sentence means I paid attention to is, while Japan's culture has arisen from very particular circumstances, there are trends there that should worry all Western societies. So that's, I think, reflects some kind of Irish opinion on this issue. So the third thing, since this one is basically about the deaths of deaf person. So he said that the Irish deaf community has pushed hard for the provision of more services, including support for those living alone. So after reading this, I think, well, the people in Ireland maybe is almost the middle of that. Not Finnish, but not Japanese. Maybe it's kind of middle. Well, certainly, if we have time, we can discuss this about its cultural background. Okay, so we try to reach the conclusion here only for this part that it's quite a big problem. But if we check the data again, we will find that this aging in place it's not only in Japan, even I think it's a global trend. So if we check the data, we have the data for four countries. One is Japan, another is Ireland. For comparison, we also have the data of USA and China. Although the data is a little bit old, so you can see they are different. One 2010, 2011, 2013. So a little bit old, but I think the trend is, we can see the same similar trend here. Well, the elderly population, even for the definition of elderly, it's a little bit different. For example, China, as I know, sometimes defined aged 16 or over as the elderly. Well, a little bit different, but let's just see the trend. For this single living elderly population, in Japan, it's 4.8 million. This year, 16%. While in Ireland, this population is very small, it's 0.035 million, but the percentage itself is quite high. It's 25.4%. It's quite similar as the USA. It's 28. But for China, I think it's another special case. They have the family planning, the policy strategy there. So they have 100 million single living elderly. And it's almost 49.5% of this elderly population. It's exceptionally high, I think.